My name is Jeremy. I'm not good with the ladies, but I make good gradies. Yeah? Oh yeah, what do you think of that?
First, I should start off by saying I'm not used to making this kind of video. Sharing my real-life perception on things has never really been my forte, and I often try to keep away from doing that if I can. Mostly because this is a world where social media and the internet have taken hold, and it is very scary to share your opinion if I'm being honest. Like, it'd be one thing if you just got hate comments and that was the end of it. But there's all these cases of people getting death threats and having all sorts of violence and negativity spread around them like the plague when they start to grow larger and gain attention. So now you're probably asking yourself, well, if that's the case, then why are you making this video? And the answer to that is simple. It's because YouTubers like MatPat, Giguk, Lost Paws, CDogVA, SidSnap, Tenha, YDCB, Markiplier. Okay, you know what? There are a lot of YouTubers that have played a part in me wanting to make a YouTube channel and being interested in doing this. So if you want a list, I'll do my best to list off all the main ones that have impacted me in wanting to be a YouTuber and have that shown at the very end of the video as a special tribute to them. You see, it's not only thanks to them, but all the YouTubers that have impacted me ever since I started watching them, from big to small, that have made me want to do this. Their ability to share their passions with everyone and make videos that are entertaining for us to watch. I really thought that was something amazing. So, I feel it's only right that I respect that and share that with all of you. Now, if you haven't already clicked off the video, then I'll begin to get to the main topic. Let's see, where should I begin? I think if I had to start anywhere, I'd have to begin with my very first memory. You see, when I think back to when I was a young kid, I remember myself playing this little Thomas the Tank Engine game when I was 5 years old on the PlayStation. It's not much of a memory, but I remember it well enough to see images on TV, and remember that I was sitting in the living room. Hop forward a few years, and I remember myself seeing my dad playing WoW on the computer. It was so interesting to me that I ended up making an account and playing with the neighbors' kids. We were all around the same age, and we were playing WoW. It's kind of crazy to really think about that. But that was one of the very first big video games of my life, and even to this day, I remember the memories that game gave me. I remember driving this little car toy thing and trying to shoot down my friends while we were at this little circus thing, and thinking about how I never wanted those moments to end. I also remember going over to their place and playing Mario Kart on their GameCube. That was back when Mario Kart had the best game mode, one that they have forever ruined in my opinion. It was Balloon Battle, but back then you didn't get to return after you died. It was a fight to the death, and if you lost all your balloons, you were out for good. I remember in daycare years later hearing about the Mario Kart game for the Wii, and I remember playing a bit of it while it was there, having to take turns playing since there were so many other kids. I remember begging to get it, and the happiness and joy I felt when my grandmother got it for me, and I had that wheel that I could put my Wii remote in, only to never really use it as I got used to playing without it. You can imagine my disappointment when I tried playing the balloon battle with my sister, only to realize you came back and got to keep going until time ran out. The feeling of playing on my favorite tracks like Coconut Mall and DK Summit with my sister are some of my favorite memories to this day, and I know that even when I grow older, I will look back to the time I shared with her in those moments, and it will remind me of a happier time. Even if we didn't always get along. That, in and of itself, reminds me of the time that we were playing Lego Batman, one of the 2 games that came with the Xbox 360 that my dad had gotten, the other being Left 4 Dead that my grandmother made me return because I was too young, in her opinion. While playing, my sister did a move, and I asked her, "How did you do that?" She said, "Why?" I was like, "What do you mean, why? Just tell me how you did it." So she once again said, "Why?" But she was talking about the button. You can kind of figure out what happened next. Basically, we went on a cycle of me repeatedly asking her how she did it, with her continuing to say, "Why?" as she gradually began to laugh at me, her laughter growing stronger until she was practically in tears. I got so frustrated I called my grandmother into the room because that stupid sister of mine wouldn't just tell me how to do one move in the game. Only for it to suddenly dawn on me as I began to explain to my grandmother, wait, maybe she meant... Let's just say that was an embarrassing moment in the book of my life. I also remember my dad getting me this gray block called a Nintendo DS, with the game Galaga and several other arcade games on it that I quickly fell in love with. I remember it getting old and my grandmother buying me a blue DS Lite, which I used to play Pokemon Heart Gold on. I remember having let my sister borrow my DS, only to one day want to borrow it back, and she wouldn't let me because it was hers now. So, like siblings do, I grabbed one end of the DS, she grabbed the other, and we broke it. I remember playing that Pokemon Gold game I mentioned earlier on the demo version of the game because I bought it pre-owned and someone else's save file was on it. And the anger of having realized they just spent an hour playing on the demo version of the game. When I went to save and realized I had gotten so lost in playing that I had forgotten it was a demo version. Because for one of the largest gaming companies in the world, they couldn't just make it simple to save a save file and had to make you input the whole damn Konami code just to make a new file. Sorry, Kevin. I know that you probably had precious memories on that Heart Gold game, and I felt kind of bad having to delete your save. Alright, I think I've spoken long enough about the gaming aspect of this. I think I should start to get into the anime section. See, for me, I didn't really have the same experience that some of the bigger anime YouTubers out there have. I never really experienced my anime phase until high school. That's because, hear me out, I thought anime and people that watched anime were really weird for the longest time. That's thanks to the mental scars that FMA gave me in the first 4 episodes back then when I was 8 years old and saw it on TV. It intrigued me, so I watched those episodes. But then, Nina, oh god, why? Anyway, that's why I still have yet to watch either of the FMA series to completion. I watched the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Over and over and over again back in elementary and middle school, but it was so hard to get my hands on them. There was no store where I could just go and buy all the Yu-Gi-Oh! DVDs or VHS. After Blockbuster. Yes, I did just mention Blockbuster. No, I'm not that old. Jeez, I was only a kid when Blockbuster died. Anyway, back to what I was saying. After Blockbuster closed, I just had to wait until I found a new DVD/VHS at my local half-price bookstore, or a new one arrived in the mail. Don't know why I'm saying new though, almost every single one of those was pre-owned. That was back in the day when I had to buy them off eBay, and bidding on those things was one of the most fun things little kid me could do. Don't worry, I didn't have access to my parents' credit cards. I just had to ask them to do it for me. But watching as the time ticked down and wondering if I was going to get it was a really exciting feeling as a kid. Anyway, it was thanks to that I was forced to re-watch the first season's episodes over and over until I slowly started to grow my collection. Guys, I'm not kidding you. The day that I had the complete collection of the season 1 of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series was one of the happiest days of my life. That would later be beaten by the day I got every single season. Wait, I bought the box sets for the 3rd and 4th, but I don't have the 5th. Yeah, I know. My collection is still incomplete to this day. The only thing I'm missing now is the 5th season, so I need to buy that. Anyway, that day really did fill me with so much pride. That brings me into when I was in a local library, back when I was still in middle school, and I found out about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if you saw the god-awful massacre of Yu-Gi-Oh! That is the 4Kids anime, don't get me wrong, I love that opening theme. It's time to duel. And even if it is garbage in comparison to the manga, I still have so many fond memories of the 4Kids anime, with all those English VAs defining so much of my childhood. Hashtag my Valentine is best girl. But yeah, I got off track again. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this. If the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime was something that defined the majority of my childhood, being the only anime I ever watched to complete. I never actually watched the last episode because I was a coward, and I didn't want the characters of my favorite anime to die. By finishing the last episode of the 5th season after binge watching it all on Foxbox that day in middle school. Anyway, if that was the anime that defined so much of the person I am today, hell, my username on most of my gaming accounts is DarkMagician3999 or DarkMage3099. Even my Gmail has Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, if it is all of those things, then the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga was the thing that taught me just how little I truly knew about the world of anime. Even if it would be years before I ever got into the actual anime community and started binge watching anime that wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh! I could tell it changed right away. And when I say I fell in love with the manga version, I fell hard. You don't understand. As someone who thought that he knew everything there was to know Yu-Gi-Oh!, finding out about the dark version of Yu-Gi was bliss. This kid that had sat around and playing card games with people was suddenly hurting the people that would bring harm to others. Yu-Gi suddenly went from only someone that I could relate to someone that was cool. Up until that point, Joey Wheeler was the only character that I truly looked up to as a role model. Yu-Gi was relatable, and I was happy to have a character to relate to, don't get me wrong. But until that point, Joey was the loyal friend that was always reliable and there whenever someone needed him. He was the kid that had grown up in a rough situation and had not let it get him down, but had used it to become a person that could protect his friends and the important people in his life. Specifically his sister Serenity, that he was fighting so hard for to save her eyes by trying to win the money for her operation. Suddenly, Yugi had become someone that I could look up to. More than that, everything changed so much, including a line that I continue to remember until this day, and probably always will. It's in the first volume, Chapter 3, Hard Beat. At the beginning of the chapter, he says something like this: "Every day, I wake up thinking something cool will happen today. But by the time I get to school, I'm thinking, I hope something fun happens someday." I can't tell you just how much that line hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. The same character that I had already related to had just become so much more relatable than I knew then. And there, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be something that I would never forget about. It would be a series, along with Danganronpa, which I later came to love and has become the only other series to have this much of an impact, that would define my childhood. To be honest with you, it has, in so many ways that I can't even count. I remember writing an essay for Crunchyroll to win this thing that I sent in to them for a contest. The question was along the lines of, how has anime impacted you? And I literally talked about nothing but Yu-Gi-Oh! In it. Anyway, all of the characters that I had already grown to love and understand suddenly had so much more value as I learned things about them and realized that they were much, much more than what the anime had ever made them out to be. You guys still with me? If you are, then this is where I start to explain all of this to you. You see, you've probably begun to think, alright, yeah, we get it. We all have some fun memories of the games we used to play, and the anime we used to watch. But how does any of this relate to the title? What's up with this clickbait video? And the answer to that is simple. These moments, whether you realize it or not, are all proof that gaming and or anime have impacted you in the same way it has with me. If you can relate to any of this, then more likely than not, you have been given a home to the world of gaming and or anime. A world where you could escape from all the problems of the real world and all that boring homework you were forced to do, but never actually really got around to doing after elementary, because the second you got home, you just wanted to hop on your DS, Xbox, Wii, PC, insert console of choice here, or watch the newest episode that you had been dying to watch all day. The same exact thing goes for anime, and there's a good chance that you're a gamer, then you're also a fan of anime and vice versa. You see, the reasoning for that is because both of these communities are very, very similar. Most likely, if you played a lot of games and or watched a lot of anime, you were, or maybe are, still like me, an introvert. You didn't really have many friends growing up, so you would fill that void in your heart by hopping into another world and escaping into the place where things like that didn't matter. You shared laughs, tears, and actual feelings with fictional characters because the worlds that had been created were anything but fictional to you. They had a real-life impact on your world. And honestly, I think that's something that no one can ever take away from us. You can call it just a game, or just a cartoon. You can say it's just for kids, or that it's not going to get you anywhere. But those memories that we made, those are things that you can never take from us. The friends that we made along the way, whether they were fictional characters in the game, or real people that shared your interest, and the lessons that we learned prove that these things have value. Because at the end of the day, whether you are someone that went out to parties and interacted with others and watched football and did all the social activities you could, or if you were that guy or girl that went home the second the bell rang and just spent the entirety of your day watching anime and writing fanfics with your favorite ships, or playing games constantly finding yourself getting stuck only to drop the game and never pick it back up again while leaving it on the list of games you swore you'd get back to one day, at the end of the day, one truth still rings clearer than any other. Your passion is an important part of you, And that is something that no one should be able to dismiss.